Joshua Melson from Rush University Medical Center. It's my pleasure to deliver the author interview series for gastrointestinal endoscopy on our article that's in press, Maintaining Low Non-neoplastic Polypectomy Rates in High-Quality Screening Colonoscopy. So we all know that false positive biopsying, when a colonoscopist thinks that they see a polyp, whether it's hyperplastic adenomatous or serrated, takes a biopsy or removes with snare, and that winds up not being a polyp, whether a fold or a lymphoid follicle, that adds inefficiency to colonoscopy and costs with no benefit. Currently, screening programs really don't monitor that, and I think there's a number of reasons why we don't monitor what we call non-neoplastic polypectomy rates. The first is we don't really know the thresholds, what we're shooting for. So that was one of the goals of the paper, to define thresholds where colonoscopists could achieve high-quality colonoscopy as defined by 25% adenoma detection rate, and how low they could keep their non-neoplastic polypectomy rate. And then the second reason why perhaps we're not monitoring non-neoplastic rates now is that we don't really know what to define how we should monitor them. You can think of two approaches. One would be probably an easier, more efficient approach would be to do a natural language search that would exclude hyperplastic, adenoma, and serrated, and then to include everything else for screening colonoscopy. And then the alternative would be to sort of drill down and get more granular, and so that you wouldn't penalize folks for biopsying lipomas, inflammatory polyps, neural polyps, finding a carcinoid, perhaps evaluating a submucosal mass, as well as so that would be more resource intensive. One of the limitations for that is, when you think about it, when we as gastroenterologists get a pathology report back, normal is oftentimes defined different ways. So it could be fold, normal tissue, mucosal fold. So that makes natural language searching difficult if one were just to try to find what were those type of biopsies. So back to our first goal, which is what are the thresholds? How low can doctors get in terms of their non-neoplastic rates? So we found we had a typical variation of adenoma detection rate between 22 and upwards of 40, above 40%. With 12 out of 14 colonoscopists achieving an ADR of 25%. And if you look at their non-neoplastic rates, we saw some non-neoplastic rates in high-quality colonoscopy detectors as low as 2.6%, and we saw some as high as in excess of 20%. So there was a wide range in colonoscopists' non-neoplastic polypectomy rates. But we did show, if the average was around 8%, we did show that there were multiple colonoscopists that could achieve high-quality colonoscopy as defined by an adenoma detection rate of 25% or excess, and maintain these low non-neoplastic polypectomy rates of well under 5%. So I think that's helpful in terms of giving us a roadmap of what we should be shooting for, and as a center here at Rush, we're going to be monitoring these rates. So now on to the second piece. So the second piece is looking at how we should report non-neoplastic polypectomy rates. So by just doing a quick, sort of an efficient exclusion of adenoma, serrated, and hyperplastic polyp, we found really minimal variation to the alternative approach, which would be really looking at everything and excluding those that there might be a rationale for biopsying, such as neural polyps and inflammatory polyps, and drilling down to what's just a fold and a lymphoid follicle. So there was never a difference in any colonoscopist of more than 3% in those different approaches. So I think a relatively easy natural language search with a few exclusion criteria is appropriate or can be done in monitoring non-neoplastic rates. I think for the future, we need to look at how we can do better, how we can get colonoscopists that have non-neoplastic polypectomy rates, how we can drive those down, make colonoscopy more efficient, but not sacrifice adenoma detection rate or serrated detection rates. We did look at correlations between adenoma detection rate and non-neoplastic rates. That's been done before, and we also showed a decent correlation with a Pearson correlation of about 0.7. We did not show a correlation with serrated lesions. So I think if one wants to improve their serrated detection rate, just excessive biopsying is not the way to do that. There needs to be alternative approaches to improve serrated detection rates. So in sum, we showed that a relatively simple natural language search with exclusionary terms of hyperplastic, serrated, and adenoma defines non-neoplastic polypectomy rates pretty well, and that non-neoplastic polypectomy rates can be driven down to rates well below 5% while maintaining high-quality adenoma detection rates. Thank you.